Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. It is Sunday, November 29th, 2020. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new, please be sure to check out my website at lisahop.com. That's LISAHOPP.com for all about my services, all about me, all about my books, all about why I do the work that I do. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at serenityharbor@verizon.net. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And for those coming back week by week, I appreciate you so very much. I'm very grateful for all of my clients, the ones especially that have stayed with me through 15 years almost. And perhaps even beyond that, because it's only been about 15 years of full-time work. So I appreciate you for your dedication, your loyalty, your belief, your just generosity, all that you've given to me. And I hope that I've been able in some way to give you just a fraction of that in return. So I sat very long today trying to figure out what to talk about, while processing my day yesterday. Yesterday, I got to take a walking tour of Old City, Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania, yes. And it was wonderful. It was being able to walk to the Betsy Ross House and Christ Church and see Benjamin Franklin's grave and the livelihood of Market Street. It was very nice. It wasn't a very cold day. The weather was nice. So a very good time. So, as I was pondering what to talk to you about this morning, I was recalling a couple of experiences I had yesterday. Rather smaller experiences, but still. The first one was at the Betsy Ross house. I was just standing outside the entrance to the home, perhaps about 20 feet from where she is buried. And the interpreters were there and tourists going in and out. And the entire time I'm sitting there, there is an energy very close to my back, an energy that is touching my shoulders and going up and down my back, and not in an invasive way, but in a way to say, hello, I'm here. Now, I did not try to tune in or determine who was doing that. I just noticed it. And the same thing happened to me while sitting in an area right by Christ Church, a little park area around the shoulders, up and down the back. Hello, I'm here. Perhaps to the back of the head as well. It wasn't exactly poking. It was more like the caress of an energy. Our loved ones will often caress the top of our head or the sides of our head or the back of our head. Sometimes it's to comfort us, to be gentle. This was more I don't want to say rougher, but it was more of a pronounced energy, an attention getter a little bit more, but in no way uncomfortable. So of course I was looking this morning to see are either of these areas haunted. And while Christ Church is on a ghost hunting or a ghost tour, I haven't found anything quite yet. Betsy Ross house, yes. But in all honesty, that doesn't matter. These are two areas that go back in time, that go back over 200 years. And what it said to me was truly what it did was it validated once again, reinforced once again, how much life is all around us. That didn't necessarily have to be Betsy Ross or one of Betsy Ross's husbands or anybody that lived in that home. That could have been just the energy of the space that that home was in. It could have been a neighbor that happened to be there. When we leave, when our physical body can go on no more, we walk out of it. We go to other dimensions. We are eternal. And time does not exist the way we are taught or the way that we deal with. Time truly cannot be measured by a clock or an hour or a second or a tomorrow or a yesterday. In truth, time is happening all at once. That's why I said it didn't necessarily have to be a revolutionary specter that was pronouncing themselves around me. It could have been somebody who passed 3 years ago that happened to be standing in that place at that time. But what it did to me, for me, is it made me appreciate life going on. Because it does. We have lived for millennia upon millennia. We are energy. We are source. And while we love the human embodiment of our loved ones, our parents, our grandparents, our children, our nieces, our nephews, our cousins, our uncles, our friends, while we love the physical embodiment of them and the spirit they have inside, nothing about their spirit or soul ever dies. It just steps out of that human cocoon. The human cocoon that eventually will fail them. Whether it be because it couldn't withstand something or because its heart wasn't strong enough anymore, or because it couldn't fight back a condition in some way. So while the human body and all of its senses can be frail, the soul, the will, the spirit is formidable and eternal and filled with energy that can light up that city of Philadelphia I was walking around. We are so powerful in that way. And I know for many of you it's very hard to believe that. But one day we all find out what is truth and how powerful and strong and massive we truly are. And that for the very reason or nature of wanting to experience life on a sensory journey, we make ourselves smaller to go into a human body so that we can experience this life with taste buds and emotions, ego, hearing, in a much more human way. We want to experience all the senses that we go through in order that we may learn, grow, expand. That's why it's so important to listen to your gut, to listen to the whispers of your soul, because that is the true energy. That is the truest form of you. Everything else is just about the experience. So we should never allow our bodies to lead us. Our bodies are not going to make us happy. Our bodies are not going to give us wisdom. Our bodies don't always know what's going on. But your soul and your spirit and your infinite mind does. So when you walk into a room and you say to yourself, I don't know why, but I feel uncomfortable here, it's so important to listen to that, to honor it, because that's not your body. That's your soul. That's your spirit. That's your gut. That's the part of you that is infinite, that's telling you to listen to it, that something is off. If you ever walked down an alley or go to sit somewhere and you say to yourself, I don't feel right, always listen to it, because that is the largest part of you talking. That's the part of you that knows, the part of you that has the wisdom, the infinite wisdom to know what is right and what is really wrong. It'll always protect you as well if you listen to it. Yesterday I had my antennae up. I was walking around the big city, and so I was alert to what was happening around me. I knew when I was safe and when I should be a little bit more alarmed. By the way, for the most part I felt safe, yes. Probably 99.8%. Sometimes when we watch TV, often, every day, we are told a different story, aren't we? About places and how safe they are and such. If I were to watch the news every day and base my decisions upon travel, I would probably never go into Philadelphia. But that's not the true story of a city. There's just a whole lot more going on. And while it's tragic and sad that any violence or poverty or anything human that is not our highest selves would be going on, that is not the whole story. That is not most of the story. And we ultimately, places are more safe than we're told. But the news, and I'm not against the news, by the way, we need the news. We need to be informed. The news is about ratings. It's about giving you what makes you feel like you want to tune in. And that's why I tend to go with news that's rather boring, like, NPR, PBS, BBC. If it makes you yawn, it's probably real legitimate news. If it makes you feel frightened, it's also news. But it's picked and sorted through and chosen in order to do that. So just doesn't news, well, unless you're really into propaganda shows, news generally informs. It generally isn't lying to you. It just picks and chooses. Very important to keep that in mind. It wants to inundate you with more of the extra sensory stuff rather than overall balanced news. When I talk about propaganda, you have to watch if it's hosted by one person and it's on after 9 o'clock at night, then you have to discern what you're watching and make sure that's truth. So, back to my topic. Life goes on and heaven is all around us. I've experienced heaven. I don't talk about it very much because, number one, it's such a private and precious story to me. It's so intimate to me that I feel like I don't want it to be thinned out by talking about it constantly. And also, I tend to get the one question, did you die? And when I experienced heaven, I don't believe I died. At least no one had to revive me. I was all alone. I just traveled out of my body. And that does happen. There are books that sell to you that a child died or an adult died when there's no records of flatlining. And so, but we assume that, oh, that must have taken place, right? Well, most of the time it does, but not all the time. When I experienced heaven, I just knew I wasn't. It was kind of like the Wizard of Oz. I'm not at home anymore. I'm not in a town anymore. I'm not of earth anymore. Something has changed. Something is different. And I knew where I was because I felt it. I felt that I had gone home. And that's how I refer to heaven, as home. I felt like I'd gone to where I came from. And there were beings that could have been angels, could have been spirit guides. They were white. There was a lightness. I did not feel my physical body anymore. I felt free. I felt light. I felt no worry, no fear, no concern about earth and anything and anyone here. I knew intuitively where I was because my first words were, did I do something wrong? Now, why did I say that? Because I was raised in a traditional religion that teaches every day, you're a sinner. You may not get to heaven. You have to go to purgatory first to clean up before you're allowed in. I'm paraphrasing. Live in fear. Judge others. You have to, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light in. So I was raised with a fear and a belief that I may not get there, but by the mercy of God. And through belief in Jesus, and so when I am in this wonderful home, this place, the first thing I think of is, I know it's not my time, so why would you pull me in? You must be pulling me in to chastise me. You must be unhappy with me in some way. Why did I know it wasn't my time? None of my departed loved ones were there. I didn't feel closure. I didn't feel surrendered of my will. I felt like it was a visit, not going home permanently. Even though I felt all that freedom and all that lightness, and I did want to stay. I did want to stay because of that feeling. An immeasurable love. The whole energy was love and acceptance and adoration. So my first question didn't make sense in that energy, but it was my human self, afraid that I had done something wrong, waiting for my judgment, fearing my judgment because of how I was raised. Heaven can be very overwhelming to those who don't know how they'll be judged or fear the judgment, because the love overwhelms you, the acceptance overwhelms you, the adoration overwhelms you, and you do feel the security of being home, and you know that everything and everyone will be all right. That is all that I felt. That's how I know that my loved ones And all my clients' loved ones are all right in heaven because I know what they encounter, because I was given just a couple moments to experience myself. I can speak from a place of truth, of knowing, and not just go off the words of those in spirit that may communicate with me for them, their loved ones. And so, when I did give my question to this line of beings, they smiled and they said, "No, child, we just want to talk to you for a moment." And they basically gave me an inspired speech, I want to find the correct words. They gave me direction on what my work was to be from now on, and to keep going. And that there was more to do. And at the time I was going through cancer treatment, I feel they wanted me to know that I had time. And I appreciate that very much. Because for any of you that's gone through cancer treatment, you know that you think about that. No matter how you feel, you still aren't fully knowing how it's going to go as far as what the outcome will be, whether your will is strong or not. And so that was the purpose of that visit. Now, why did I get that visit and not others? Because I meant to help others as a spiritual teacher, healer way. And I think that was why. But that doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen for others. Heaven knows what it's doing. They're perfect with it. They know when to give you a supernatural experience and when they don't need to. Your loved ones know when to show themselves and when they can just be there for you and not really show themselves. And they're always by us, our side, and always around us. Which pulls me back to my topic. Whether you perceive heaven or not, it is always around you. It's very literally less than an inch away. Your loved ones are there. Those that have lived before you in that space are there. When I was walking around Philadelphia yesterday, I was walking with the founding fathers. I was walking with those that had lived on those sidewalks, in those lots before, that have crossed those roads before. They were all around me. Just because I didn't perceive them the whole time doesn't mean they weren't there. They are among us, always, every second, forever. And even when your departed loved one is not standing right next to you, they can hear you, they can feel you in every way. But there's always somebody there, even if it's not the one that you most want to be there. Somebody is always next to you. Something. Your angels, your spirit guides, your departed loved ones, the pet you lost. You're never left alone for 1 second. And they are never not alive for 1 second. There's this sale, this selling of ghosts. And I love a good ghost tour too. But I know that these ghost tours are just about energy and tales. Most of the time, when you speak about a haunted place, like Betsy Ross House, for instance, an activity happening there, things moving, or hearing a voice, or hearing footsteps, or being touched, you're just stepping back in their time. And they're a part of yours. That's why when you may go to a battlefield, you may hear gunfire or cannons or marching, because time as we know it, as we are taught it, is an illusion. And we can intermix with each other at any moment. And when you're not receiving your loved ones, a soldier, Betsy Ross, it's because in some way you're blocking it, and that's not your fault. Our physical senses block it. Our anger, our hunger, our stress, our focus on getting from one place to the next, that blocks what is happening all around us. And the purpose of me telling you that is that I want you during this holiday season to understand, because this can be the most devastatingly lonely, sad time that any of us can go through. Such a hole, such a crater, especially if you've lost a parent or a child. The child is the hardest loss. Or even a loneliness of not having enough friends or family. This time can be devastating. I encourage you, if you can, center yourself. Centering yourself is focusing just on the moment. Whether it just be centering on washing a dish, or as I was doing yesterday, I was centering on the space I was sitting in and standing in. I was looking down and centering on the sidewalk, the path. Because I was doing that, I could perceive what was happening around me. Focus just on one thing: the sidewalk, the candle, a spot on the road, if you're standing there looking out your window. And try almost in a detached way to notice. Did you just see something out of the corner of your eye? Did you just feel somebody touch you? Or just an energy around you? That is real. People overuse the word imagination. Imagination is an active tool. When you're using your imagination, you are using the creative active part of your brain. You're not using your intuition. You're not using your subconscious mind. You are sitting there and using the conscious part of your mind, the conscious part of your brain. You're working. So when we have a supernatural experience of feeling and noticing someone touching our hair, or seeing someone walk at a corner of our eye, and then we turn and nobody's there, that is not our imagination, because we're not using anything at that moment. Our brain is shut down. When something happens that you can't explain, it's not your imagination. Because you're not using your imagination, your conscious mind, to work it up. So keep that in mind, because imagination gets a lot more credit than it deserves. It's like, perhaps one of 1,000 overused words. Our people around us, the energy around us is happening all the time, whether we are participating in it or not. When I was sitting outside Christ Church, next to it, enjoying it, it could have been somebody from another time who attended the church or walked in the park. Well, it was. Or it could have been somebody who passed 2 weeks ago that did the same thing. I didn't ask because it wasn't the moment that I wanted to ask. I just am very grateful that I experienced heaven around me. And you, at any moment of your day, can experience heaven around you too. It is always accessible to you. Just by centering yourself in the moment, or catching what's out of the corner of your eye, or perceiving a sound that doesn't make sense, or acknowledging something has happened, like an object moving, or a light that doesn't make sense. We are always in contact with heaven, whether we perceive it or not. Our loved ones are not far, far away. You cannot take a space rocket to get to them. Not because they're beyond it. It's because they're right around us. They're not up and they're not down. They are around us. Yes, those who are the most evil are further away from us. I'm talking about those that live their lives and love us and loved their land and loved their home and experienced trauma and still want to learn from it. I'm talking about energy. It's all around us. Every moment of our lives. You do not have to go to the cemetery to visit your loved ones, though it is good to go to honor them. They walk with you. They sit with you. They travel with you. They are alive. And heaven is for real. Heaven is just a higher dimension. And that day that I was pulled in to be given a talk, I was in that higher dimension. Not the highest of dimensions, because there's more than one, but another, the next. And I can tell you that it was immeasurably better than Earth. And we all, any of my listeners most likely, can look forward to that. Not having one connection with your body. Freedom, love, 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 acceptance, lightness of being, joy, such immense joy, security, all waiting in immeasurable ways. There are no human words to describe heaven. And I want to say this to you because, gosh, we're in a divisive time. know you are all worthy of going. I hear so much fear spread. People judging others and telling them that religious liberty, religious freedom, religious tolerance, intolerance. We all can be tested by people who want to be evil on this earth. I more or less, when I see evil, I just kind of have a knowing. I connect into my knowing that we all have consequences for how we choose to live. And what I mean by choose to live is how we treat others. If you enjoy harming others, there will be consequences for that. There will be judgment. If you are evil, you don't get away with it. But for the most part, if you try to be, if you want to be a good person, no person on this earth should tell you that you may not get to heaven. Because that's just not the truth. It is important to look out for each other. Take care of each other. If you want to know how to guarantee it within yourself, just make sure of how you treat others. If you're always try to be, we all have moments, don't we? We all have moments. But if you're overall someone who wants the best for others, and you give to charity, and you smile, and you want, everyone to be loved, you're going. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. You get to go to another dimension. Please don't ever let anyone tell you you have to be part of a special club. Religion is of man. Heaven is of love. So important to keep that in mind. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast on this wonderful fall Sunday. Send to yourself this holiday season. Talk to your loved ones. Honor them. Allow your senses to experience what's really around you. It will help. And it will bring, hopefully, a fullness and the understanding that we are all connected by energy, whether we are in our physical bodies or not. Thank you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Be sure also to check out my website at lisahopp.com. That's lisahopp.com. I thank you again, and have a wonderful Sunday.